As children, we were introduced to a new way of getting around, the tricycle. We started out on 3 wheels, but the coolest kids, they went straight to 2. But me, I've had a bicycle for as long as I can remember, and yet, I yearn for more. Alright, this bad boy just came in the mail. Assembly only took around 15 minutes, even though the company did not provide any instructions other than how to put the pedals on. In the 1880s, unicycles appeared when people were trying to ride the penny farthing in just the front wheel. Eventually, they decided just to take the back wheel off. There are many types of unicycles. This one right here is a 3-wheeler and can be up to 10 feet tall. The Giraffe unicycle ranges from 5 to 10 feet tall. Regular unicycles like the MUni are modified with thicker tires to ride up mountains. For the truly insane, we have a unicycle that is simply a wheel and pedals. An electric unicycle is a bit of a cheat as it's easier to balance, but still, here we have it. The unicycle that I decided to go with is the Nimbus 2. This is perfect for beginners. The wheel size is roughly 20 inches, which means that I can both do tricks on it and it won't be too hard to learn on. A bigger wheel size would have been easier, but ultimately this will be better for trails and tricks. This was the most recommended unicycle for beginners. Unicycles all have essentially the same parts with a few variations. Obviously the Seatless unicycle doesn't have a seat, but this is called either a seat or a saddle. It's connected directly onto the seat post. This part actually comes out and it's how you raise and lower the seat. And to allow for that and tighten for it, this here is the clamp. You have to make sure it's secured, or if not, this will slide out of place. From there, we move on to the frame, which is essentially what everything connects to. And a little part on the frame is actually called the fork, these 2 prongs here. Those 2 connect down to the wheel, which essentially has spokes on it, just like a normal bike wheel. To move the wheel, it has pedals that you push that are directly connected to cranks that push the wheel directly, unlike a bike where there would be chains. This makes it so you have to constantly pedal the unicycle and you can't really coast. I'm Savannah Jackson, and today I'm going to be reviewing unicycling as a hobby. My criteria includes ease of use. As a beginner, I think I can gauge this one pretty well. We're going to look at and see if it's a good workout. Is it as good as a bicycle? That sort of thing. Then we're going to look and see if I've learned any applicable skills from this hobby. Has it taught me anything that I can use when I'm learning something else or in my day-to-day life? After that, we're going to look at the practicality of it. Is it as good as a bike or a skateboard? Where can I use it? Where can't I use it? And ultimately, especially because it's known for being in circuses, we're going to look and see if it's fun. As you can see, this thing was by no means easy to ride. After an hour of practice, I could barely even complete a full cycle while leaning against the wall. It was definitely a challenge. Over the course of over a week and a half, I spent about 5 hours riding this unicycle, only to find that I could only get about 10 feet away from the wall on my own. The website I got this on actually said that it takes between 10 to 15 hours, which I thought might be overstated because on YouTube, there's a lot of videos of people riding unicycles between 2 and 6 hours. I realized that this does not happen for everybody. It is very dependent on your athleticism and balance, and also on the type of unicycle. For example, unicycles with a 24-inch diameter would be much easier to ride than my 20-inch. Juggling is by far the hardest hobby that I've learned so far. I've learned juggling, that only took about an hour and 30 minutes. Fire eating took about 30 minutes. Most hobbies are supposed to take around 60 minutes to learn a basic concept and a couple hours to get good at, right? Unicycling has taken me about 5 hours to not even be somewhat decent at it. And for that reason, on ease of use, I'm going to give it 2 out of 5 stars. Unicycling is definitely a good workout and a good alternative to biking. On a 40-mile ride, a person will burn about 2,000 calories. That's a very rough estimate, and there's not really a good way to track it or compare it to a bike because you have to take into account the person's weight, you have to take into account where they're biking, is it uphill, downhill. You also have to take into account the speed that they're going. There's a lot of factors to it, but regardless, it is very good because it doesn't wear on your joints just like a bike doesn't either. It's a lot easier on your knees than jogging would be. But unlike a bike, it's more challenging in some ways because not only do you have to balance this way like you do on a bike, but you also have to balance this way, which means that you're working your core muscles and your thighs. When I was riding, my face was red a lot of the time. I experienced a lot of pain in my thighs, especially my inner thighs, just from trying to keep myself upright. Another reason that it's a little bit harder than biking and burns a little bit more calories is because you can't coast on most unicycles. You can on some of the ones with chains and whatnot, but on mine and most just regular standard unicycles, you have to be constantly pedaling to move the wheel. If not, you're just going to stop and probably faceplant. So overall, the workout aspect of it, I would give it 5 out of 5 stars. It was a good workout. It worked my whole body, definitely, especially just learning it and not being used to using those muscles. I would say it got me a little bit. Unicycles are much more practical than one might expect. They can fit pretty much anywhere that a skateboard can. A lot more places than a bike, too. For example, the office even let me keep my unicycle in there while I was practicing during the duration of this video. Most places consider it a skateboard. This is useful because unicycles can't exactly be locked up because if you take the wheel off, someone can steal the frame. It's also lightweight. Unicycles have all the good things about things like skateboards and rollerblades. They can be stored inside and most people and businesses will let you do so. They are also very lightweight. However, unlike a skateboard, they can actually go trailing just like a bike can. Increasing the tire size and the rim size will allow you to go off-roading, or you can even go to skate parks with it. Unicycles may be better than skateboards at off-roading, but they are definitely not as good as bikes. Due to the fact that most of them don't have brakes, you can't go down very steep hills. And even with the brakes, they are very hard to use and usually not nearly as effective as biking brakes. However, they are able to maneuver a little bit faster than a bike due to the fact that you can actually hop the unicycle. For the practicality of a unicycle, I'm going to rate it 4 out of 5 stars. The reason for this is they can go most places, such as pavement, they can go to skate parks, they can go off-roading, even in the snow. However, they do not handle these obstacles, and especially steep hills, up or down, nearly as well as something like a bicycle could. Overall, though, they are very useful and they can be used more than most handheld vehicles. The last, but one of the most important things I'm going to rate this unicycle on is, was it fun? This is kind of a tough thing for me because this has definitely been a very angering process. It's kind of frustrating when you spend hours doing something and you can still barely do it. But overall, I would say that the fun part about it is really just kind of the interactions you get with people, and I'm sure the communities of unicycling are also very fun. Some of my favorite moments are people looking at me and saying, "Can you ride that?" and me going, "No, but you can try." And having some of my friends get on it, some random kids get on it. You get a tiny little bit further, your brain just freaks out and you're like, I can do this now. This is gonna be great. I'm gonna be the world's best unicycler. And then you fall the next time after like a foot. But it's okay, because you got that little extra second the last time. And something that I haven't experienced, but I definitely think is a big part of unicycling, is actually the sports and the interactions that are centered around it outside of just the individual. There's a lot of groups, there's a lot of people on the internet that will actually meet up to go unicycle, whether that be at the skate park or whether that be up on trails. Not most people know this, but there's a lot of sports involving unicycle. There's unicycle handball, unicycle hockey, and unicycle basketball. Yeah. Whatever you want to imagine of that, it's probably pretty nerdy. But the learning process, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 stars. I recommend unicycling to anyone who can physically do it and doesn't have bad joints. It's a very inclusive activity, and I'm going to leave a link to where I got my unicycle in the description below. I actually got the Nimbus 2 beginner unicycle, 20 inches. It's highly recommended by the website. The website also goes through, tells you how to ride. There's an entire page on which unicycle to get. It's got a lot of information. They offer warranties. I highly recommend using that site because that's what I got. My unicycle took a lot of falls, so they're definitely very durable, and I invite anyone to try to learn in less than 10 hours, because that's probably what it's going to take me. Yeah. I'm going to go ride.
And it'll be like a short little blooper at the end. I know, man, it's like that hard. And then the most... There you go. Or you can do anything. You got this.